Hi, my name's Tania and this is my channel Just Let Me Sew. Thank you very much for joining me today. I hope you are very well and that you have been getting lots of sewing done. So this is actually going to be my last video until Christmas is over. The reason for that is that it's soon going to be the 1st of December and Vlogmas is going to be starting. I don't take part in Vlogmas as a vlogger. I love watching everybody else's vlogs, but I don't have the time to do Vlogmas, unfortunately. And there are just so many lovely videos out there that I prefer to take a step back during December and let the others take over. So this is perhaps going to be a bit of a bumper video. I've got quite a bit that I want to squeeze into today's video, so bear with me and I hope you find it enjoyable. If I could also just start off by saying, if you are one of my new subscribers, thank you very much for joining me and for subscribing. I had a little increase in subscribers since my last video, so thank you very much. And if you haven't yet subscribed, I would love it if you would consider doing so. It really does help to get my channel out there, and most of all, it's wonderful to have you along with me. What have I been up to? Well, you may have heard some other vloggers talking about this already, but last week I went on a wonderful sewing retreat, which was organised by a few friends. Well, I say a few, I think it's about 20 of us actually in total. We went up to a beautiful hotel just outside Birmingham. Absolutely stunning scenery, really, really beautiful. It was quite a long drive for me. It was about 5.5 hours all in. I hired a car so my husband could have the car for running the children around over the weekend. So quite a long journey in a car I didn't know, but it was a brilliant, brilliant experience. I had the best weekend I think I've had in a very long time. So many lovely people came along to that sewing retreat. So thank you to all of those people that came and made it such a special time. While I was on that retreat, I did manage to get quite a bit of sewing done, and one of the things that I made up is what I am wearing now. So if you follow me on Instagram, I have already shared this jumper on Instagram, and it is the new Maison Fauve pattern called the Ressac sweater, and I've made it up in this very bright pink sweatshirting fabric which I got from Pound Fabrics, which was really reasonably priced. And for the ribbing detail, I used a heavyweight rib from Minerva. It's just called their heavyweight rib knit. And I've got it along the neckline. And if I just move you back, I'll be able to stand up. I've also used it on the hem and the cuffs, but the amazing detail on this sweater is that it is down the sides. And there's a section under the arms here. You can kind of see it there like a triangle. So I've done it all in plain, but I'm thinking for my next one, because I'm definitely going to make this again, I am going to do it in navy and then have a navy and white striped rib on these sections here, just to give that little pop. Another really lovely feature of this sweater is the pocket, which goes all the way through. It looks like a welt pocket, but it's not a welt pocket. The pattern piece extends a little bit and you snip into the corner and then you fold it under. So if I fold it back, you can see where it's overlocked there, and then you just top stitch it down there. And I've added a little label which says, "I made this and it feels good," which is a little rosy cheeks label, which I love. And that was totally inspired by Angela from Devon Thread Tales. I love that. Really, really nice feature. It's got these little darts in the neckline, which again, I think they're quite a trademark of Maison Fauve, and just a lovely little bit of detail really. I made a size 38. I think I sized down by one size. It is quite an oversized sweater, quite boxy. But I wouldn't say I feel like I'm drowning in it at all. It's meant to be that way. In terms of the length, it covers the top of my jeans absolutely fine. I would not say it's cropped at all, and it's definitely not too long. I'm 5'4", and I think their patterns are drafted for 5'5" or thereabouts. So yeah, I sized down one size and I'm really pleased with the fit. The instructions were, on the whole, pretty good. I got stuck on the very first step, which did make me think, oh dear, this does not bode well. And it was doing the pocket piece. They said trim the corners, and I think that's just a lost in translation error because it's translated from French to English. They didn't mean trim, they meant snip. Snip into the AB marks, the like, I guess they would normally be a circle, so snip to circle, snip to dot is what they meant. But I was advised by, I think it was Angela or Rachel from Devon Thread Tales and French Seams to have a look at their YouTube channel because they always have sew-alongs, and they did. I actually only use the sew-along for that bit, and the rest of it I use the written instructions, which is quite unusual for me. I do like watching videos, but I felt the rest of the instructions were pretty straightforward. It all made sense to me. I absolutely love this sweater, and I'm definitely going to be making more, as I said. I'll try and put a picture here of me wearing it. Again, I have put it on my Instagram, so if you follow me on Instagram, you can see the full picture there as well. So yes, really, really would recommend this pattern. It is beautiful, really, really good. The next thing I made up at the retreat was something for my husband. So I mentioned in my last video that I don't often make him things, and I felt as he was watching the children for the weekend while I went away, I probably should make him something. So I made him up some joggers, and they came out really, really well. I will put the name of the pattern up here. It's a McCall's pattern. Very easy sew. Came together maybe in like an hour and a half. They were really, really quick. So they are in this green French terry, which I got from myfabrics.co.uk, but I think it's actually a German company. So it's a loop back French terry. And down the side, I mentioned this in my last video, is this lovely traditional Bolivian fabric, which he wanted to have a little feature. And you do half of it with this nice diagonal line, and then there's a seam, and then you do the rest of it in the normal fabric. He said for his next pair, he would just like it all to be in that fabric because it looks really, really good, really different. It's got slant pockets, which are very easy to insert, and they secure into the waistband so they're not flapping around. I finished off with a label, Oh Hello You, which is one that I have made up myself from Wonder Labels, I think. The waistband has got a nice thick elastic in there, and I top stitched it down with a zigzag just to stop it moving out of place. There is always a risk when you top stitch something down that if it doesn't fit, you're in it, that's it. And I don't think we've had that issue with this, but he did say he would like to have a drawstring on it. So I am going to improvise, and I'm going to go back in, and I'm going to do some hand buttonholes here and get some cord. Because I've top stitched down, I can't get back in there to do it. So that shouldn't be too tricky to do. I should be able to do that just fine. For the bottoms, the pattern calls for a leg band to sort of cinch it in at the bottom. He didn't want that. He said just turn it up and hem it like a normal pair of joggers, like loose fitting joggers. And he really, really liked them. He's really pleased with them, and he has asked for more. What I did do, which the pattern doesn't call for, is just to top stitch down this centre front seam all the way through to the back as well. And that is it. Yeah, so I made him size XL, which was his size, but typical big four, it did come up a little bit too big, hence me having to do the drawstring. So I probably should have done him just an L, but the issue with that was I did wonder, perhaps it's going to come up a bit big, but with the McCalls or Big Four patterns, you have to go by size brackets for patterns. So he's a size L probably in bottoms, but he's definitely an XL in the top. He's got quite broad shoulders. So I had to make a call, which should I go for? That's fine, I know for future. just to size down a little bit, and I can do that myself without needing to buy the pattern again. So really, really pleased, and I would really recommend them. They came together really quickly, pretty well explained, nothing really left me confused, and I really like that contrast feature there as well. Next up, I made myself another jumper, and I picked this one out from my stash because I thought I want something quick and easy to make. I purposefully just took stretch fabrics with me so that I wouldn't really have to worry about fitting or anything like that. And I went for the Seamwork Amari sweater, and I will put a picture of it up here. I have made 2 of these before. The first one I made, and the collar band, the neck band, was a little bit too wide and a little bit too low. And in the winter, I like things to be nice and snug and cozy. So I made another one in a nice quilted sweatshirting. Again, I'll try and put a picture in here for you. And that one worked out really well. Really pleased with that one. So I went for exactly the same again, and I used this lovely sweatshirting fabric. And now I think I got this from Sew Me Sunshine, but I cannot be sure. I bought this fabric during lockdown, so definitely don't have it anymore. But if I hold it up to the camera, you might be able to see it's got a little bit of a sparkle to it. So it's grey, but it also has these lovely pastel colours running through it with a little bit of sparkle. And I picked out of that pastel rainbowy colour the pink, and I went for a pink zip and pink cuffs. And it doesn't have a hemband. It's got a gentle curve to the hemband, to the hem rather, which gives it a nice feature. And then I had to call on the expertise of Rachel from French Seams, who was at the retreat with us, because the zip that I had originally taken with me, actually, when I looked at it closer, it really wasn't the right shade of pink at all. Someone had brought along some zips that they didn't need anymore to put on the swaps table, and there was this zip in the perfect colour, but it was just a bit too short. So Rachel suggested I add a little tab there to the bottom of the zip, and then just treat it as if it were part of the zip. And I think that's worked out really, really well. What else can I say about this? I think that's it really. I will put a picture of me wearing it up here. I have overlocked it with pink thread. I think I did pink and white actually. A couple of cones were in white. And really pleased with it. I would really recommend this if you haven't tried it before. If you have the Seamwork subscription, it's a really good basic to have in your pattern stash. As I said, I've taken the neck in by about 1/2 inch on each side, so 1 inch total, and I raised it by about 1/2 inch as well. I might for the next version drop it down a little bit because it's a little bit too high perhaps. You know, you do feel really like cozy in it, but if you don't like things high up around your neck, probably don't do what I did. So yeah, really pleased with that one, and that came together really quickly as well. Maybe sewn up in about an hour and about 1/2 hour to cut it all out, so not bad at all. Another thing that I wanted to mention that I did, and this was, oh gosh, a couple of months ago now, possibly 1.5 months ago now. You may know if you've been watching my channel for a few months that I did a sewing collaboration with Erin from Erin Sews, and Erin did a trip to Europe. She is from the States and she did a trip over to Europe. So I messaged her when she said she was going to Europe and asked if we could meet up, and she said yes. So we met up for coffee in London. We went to Tate Modern and sat and had a lovely chat. I'll put a picture of us here next to the Thames. Had a lovely chat. What I find amazing when you meet people from YouTube, who you watch on YouTube, it feels like you know them. We have spoken over the phone, we've done video call before, but it just felt like meeting up with an old friend, and that's how I felt on the sewing retreat as well. Meeting these lovely people who, some of them I had never met face to face before. You feel like you know them, and the sewing community is so lovely and warm and welcoming. I would really encourage you that if there's anyone you follow on Instagram or YouTube reach out to them, see if they want to chat or do some kind of collaboration with you. Even if you don't have a YouTube channel, you can still work on projects together because it's such a lovely community and it's a great way to get to know people as well. So yeah, met up with Erin. That was lovely. Last video, I mentioned that I wanted to do a little bit of a sort of tour of my sewing room and talk about how I use it, because my sewing space is definitely a multifunctional space. And I have my office equipment in here because I work from home a few days a week, have my sewing staff, it's got to be up, got to have the ironing board up, we have laundry drying in here as well. And when we have guests that need a double bed, this room doubles up as that room. What I'm going to do now is insert a little video of my sewing space and give you a little tour of it and how I have set it up. So, disclaimer, this is a multifunctional space, as I said. We have a young family, so very busy lifestyle. So no judgments, just bear that in mind when you watch the video, and perhaps you can get some pointers on how I manage my sewing space. And likewise, if you have any tips, then do share. This is the folding table that I use for my sewing. So I have my sewing machine and then my overlocker, which is under the cover on here. And because it's a multifunctional space, I really need to be able to take that table out of the room when we need it as a spare bedroom. We do have a spare room upstairs, but it's a single. So if we ever need a double bed in here, we collapse this table. It's a gate leg table, so these fold down and then I can just take it into the living room next door to make space. I would say that's one of the most important things about having a multifunctional space, is that everything can be portable or at least sort of movable. So over in this corner here, this is really useful little alcove storage for me. And this is just a little cupboard from IKEA. And in it, I have all sorts of bits and bobs for my crafts. So I've bought these little storage boxes and I've got things like masking tape in there, washi tape. What else have I got? I've got my elastics, bias binding. I've got my tailor's ham, tracing paper right at the back. Down on the second shelf, I've got other things like a glue gun, pliers for doing little poppers. And I've also got my jewellery making equipment in here. So I've got my wire, some beads and more beads and findings down there. And then my original sewing box, which I quickly outgrew, but it still has bits and bobs in it and is still quite useful. And then I've got all my large overlocker cones at the bottom, and then some packing materials that I need for my jewellery making. And then my trusty caddy at the top. And then I use my old candles as my weights when I am cutting out. And at the top, I've just got some books, more jewellery making resources in the wicker basket. And then the nice box at the top is from Liberty that I got for Christmas present a few years ago. And I can sometimes use that for whips and other bits and bobs as well. So moving across the room, what I also do when we have guests to stay and I need to get rid of my sewing machine, I have these little trolley cases. I've got two, one for my sewing machine and one for my overlocker. I just pop them in there and then I can take them down to the basement out of the way. Now for me, one of the most useful things in having a multifunctional space is my ironing board. And that might sound strange, but actually my ironing board doubles up as not just my pressing station, but it is also where I can do my pinning. I put my instructions there. I put everything on my ironing board. And what I love the most about the ironing board actually is that I lower it for those days where I just want to sit down. I've got a sore back or sore shoulders. I will drop it down, and then using my trusty office wheelie chair, I just scoot back and forth between my ironing board and the table. And it just saves me getting up all of the time if I've got a sore back that day. The next thing over here is a lovely glass cabinet that we actually inherited from not this house, the house before. The elderly couple that we bought the house from didn't want it, none of their children wanted it. So we had it in our old house as a glasses and crockery and sort of knickknacks cabinet. And then when we moved here, we will probably use it for that again one day, but in the interim, I've sort of taken it for my fabric stash. So don't look too closely and judge not, because my fabric is not that tidy in there, but that is where I keep my fabric. And down at the bottom, I have a bag with some zips in there, and I've also got a bag with some of my scraps in as well. Now this here, I absolutely love this, and my stepdad got this for me off Marketplace. It's quite old, I think it's maybe 50s or 60s, but it is just perfect for what I need, because first of all, you can move it. I can pick it up and take it somewhere else if I need to. I like that it's on long legs as well, so I can squirrel things underneath it. And really importantly for me is it has lids, because I have got a 7-month-old cat who is scurrying around outside, and if she can see anything, she will make a game out of it. And also it just keeps things hidden from my children, who just love to help themselves to things like my fabric scissors to cut out paper. So it's got this little tray where I have bits and bobs, you know, like seam gauge, seam rippers, chalk, my needles, and then I can slide it over and I've got my threads there as well. And then I also have my pins, scissors, pinking shears, labels, all sorts of things in here as well. So this is really, really useful for me. And I think he might have even got it for free off Marketplace. It really wasn't expensive at all. And then in the corner, got the lovely ironing pile and a little portable ironing board, which I take to my socials. And then more shelves up there. And this is a little rail that we got, I think, from IKEA. If anyone coming to stay needs to hang anything up, they can put their bits on there. And then because this is also an office space, we have our desk there, which has got our computers and stuff on it. And then this basket over here in the corner is where I keep all of my patterns. So all my patterns are in here. Not looking too neat at the moment, but I do have a row for dresses and skirts and a row for trousers, and I put my large indie patterns at the back as well. Now what I also have is a cutting mat, which I keep behind, sorry the glaring light of the lamp, I keep it behind my fabric cabinet, and then when I need to cut out, I just lift it out and cut out on the floor here. So not the most comfortable experience. It would be ideal to have it on a big dining room table, but we don't have that at the moment, so I have to cut out on the floor. I also have, as part of my machine, an extending, what do you call it, quilting arm, quilting table, not sure, quilting extension, which I can pull off and store away, which is really useful because it makes the machine quite big and I don't really have the space for that all of the time. Also worth mentioning, this table was off Marketplace. I think it was like £40, and it was advertised just as the table. And then when we got there, the lady said, do you want the chairs as well for no extra? So we have the chairs as well. And down here, I have a little overflow of my fabric stash. So again, it's in a basket which can be moved out of the room if needed. I've got an extra little LED light here, which is really, really good. It's nice, clear, bright light, and I can move it again if I need it. And that was just from IKEA. And another lamp there from IKEA as well. So that is my sewing space. I've actually kept up the aera just to show you how multifunctional this is, because we can have clothes drying, working at the office, someone wants the ironing board up to do ironing, maybe I want to be sewing. So lots of things going on in this room at any one time. Well, I hope you found that interesting, just to see how I have my space laid out and how it works for me. I would say, as I said in the video, the most important thing for me is that things can be movable, not necessarily portable, because that sort of makes you think that you could carry it, but things can be moved out of the way. I would also say it's a really good idea to go onto Marketplace, so Facebook Marketplace or Gumtree or FreeCycle or any of those kind of free websites to see what kind of equipment you can get there, like my table, cabinet, my little sewing chest. They were all completely free, didn't pay anything for them. I think the table actually we paid about £40 for, but you know, pretty cheap. Obviously some things you might not be able to find free, like our cabinet had to be an exact size, so we did get that from IKEA. But yeah, some of you also recommended last week that I listen to Check Your Thread, because Zoe did a podcast, in fact 2 podcasts on sewing spaces, like shared sewing spaces, and I've listened to both of those and they were really, really helpful. So if you haven't checked those out, do give them a listen, because they're really interesting to hear how other people manage their sewing spaces as well. Well, that is me for today. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed listening and enjoyed hearing about my sewing space. If you do have any pointers on other things that I could do in my sewing space, I would be really grateful to hear your suggestions as well. I mentioned in my last vlog that I do want to get a pegboard just behind me. I'm going to have to convince my husband to do that, I think, because that's a bit more of a permanent fixture in the room, isn't it? So I would like to have that so I can have some of my sewing things on the wall and a bit more accessible, but we'll have to see if I can persuade my husband to do that for me. I really hope you have enjoyed watching today, and as I said, I will see you after Christmas when the Vlogmas tours have all finished. I hope if you celebrate Christmas you have a lovely time or have a lovely holiday period and get some sewing and also some rest in as well. And do remember to subscribe and give my video a like if you haven't already. I would really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you for watching. Take care and I'll see you next time. Bye.